Please subscribe to The Old Fools, tell your friends, and tell your enemies too.
Oh, hello. Yes, thanks. Good point, Quantick. Yeah, what we need you to do is to listen to it twice and then tell all your friends to listen to it twice so we get the numbers up and then we can land a massive sponsorship deal. So please share widely, like, and connect.
Hello and welcome to Only Moaners in the Building, aka The Old Fools, in which two old men and an intelligent lady discuss the issues of the day. It really is a true crime podcast. I'm co-host David Quantick, writer, broadcaster and waster, and I'm joined by my other co-host, Ian Martin.
Hello, everybody. I'm Ian Martin, state pensioner, grandfather, and someone struggling to come to terms with the fact that my son is 45 years old today. Who has a 45-year-old son?
You do.
I do.
Happy birthday,
Yeah.
Ian's son.
I said I loved him very much, but he must book himself in for a prostate-specific antigen test.
Can you get a card for that now on Moonpig?
You do, yeah.
Fantastic. Good advice. You're going to introduce our guest.
I am going
to.
to just shut up. We are delighted to have with us this week Andrea Gibb, playwright and raconteur without parade. Hello, Andrea. How are you?
Hello.
I'm really good, thank you. How are all of you?
Oh, don't ask.
Well, it's been a long time since I was well, but let's not go there.
I am Andrea, and I am a screenwriter, or a screamwriter, I think is really what I do. I scream while I'm writing.
Very good.
So I was just remembering when I knew I had to say my own name. I remembered a time, because I used to be an actor before I became a writer. And I remembered the time when I went for an audition in Spotlight. And, you know, the old Spotlight was tiny. So you could hear everybody doing their speeches. It was horrific. It was humiliation on a ritualistic level. And I was going in next. And the director came out and said, would Andrea Gibb come in now? So and you could see everybody in the room going, oh shit, she should have changed that. So I am Andrea Gibb.
Brilliant.
That is like if you were a bass player in a Glasgow punk band in 1978, that would be your name.
Yeah.
Andrea Gibb. It's like one of those awful Kenny Everett funny punk character names. It's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant. And you feel free to call me Anthea. I'll be okay with it.
Ms. Gibb.
Ms. Gibb is better, actually.
Miss Gibb is better, yeah.
I rather think you're mistaken, Miss Gibb.
What's that? Is that
was
talking
me.
spider?
No, that was even Sean Connery. Suave Sean Connery. Hey.
It was Dr. Finlay, wasn't it? That's what you were doing.
Oh,
You were doing Dr. Finlay.
There's a man downstairs with a case of syphilis, Dr. Finlay. Bring it up, Janet. I'll drink anything. That's what we used to have instead of comedy when I was a kid.
I tell you what I've been thinking about this week. I've been thinking about lighthouses. I really love a lighthouse. Yeah, a lighthouse, right? And one of the reasons what triggered it off for me was this article that I read about this Scottish bloke who went over to Australia and applied for a job as a lighthouse keeper in this really remote Australian island. And the thing that really intrigued me or made me think was he said the reason he thinks he got the job is because he's got this big, enormous beard. And I was like, why would you need a big, enormous beard to be a lighthouse keeper?
I think because if the fire goes out underneath the big reflecting mirror, you can hurriedly pull out clumps of beard hair to stoke it again.
I mean, that's a stupid thing to say. Let's face it, a stupid fucking thing to say. Have you been up at a lighthouse?
Of course, I'm from Plymouth. We have Smeaton's Tower, conveniently located
Smeaton's Tower.
on the Hoe. I've got a lot of interest in lighthouses. This is one for comedy trivia fans. I wrote a radio pilot with Chris Morris and my former writing partner Stephen Wells called The Lighthouse Keeper. Guess what that was about?
Beards? Was it about beards?
It wasn't about beards. It's a great lost Chris Morris project. He wrote The Seagulls. You know, when you all allocate the parts, I'll be the lighthouse keeper. Stephen wrote Grace Darling, a rapacious sailor wrecker disguised as a saviour. And Chris wrote several pages of seagull dialogue, which was excellent.
Do you know you had Gail Renard on last week? And a wee segue to Gail Renard. I used to do this kids' TV programme called Let's Pretend. And she used to write it. So, and I was in one that was about a lighthouse keeper that didn't want to get his feet wet because it was a kids program, obviously. And I think Gail might have written that, actually. So that's a wee segue to last week's podcast.
That's good. Handy. We needed one of those.
I literally have just remembered that Daniel, my son Daniel's godfather, he was a lighthouse keeper. I went up a lighthouse in Sunderland, and you go up these stairs. I couldn't do it now. And then big old reflective mirror at the top. Reality is shattered into like 1,000 fractal bits. Quite stylish. It's like swinging 60s. It's like being in the Avengers, where the proper one was Diana Riggin.
What? I don't remember an episode of The Avengers where they go up a lighthouse and are blinded.
I'm talking about reality fracturing into a million bits.
Oh, okay.
With the mirrors, the fucking mirrors.
It's like disco lighthouse, isn't it? It's a disco lighthouse. That's what it is.
I hate to do this joke, but I saw Disco Lighthouse supporting Pulp in 1997.
Yeah, that's good.
Thanks for the, that's good. Oh, the mark of...
Yeah, let's move on.
There's a movie called Funny People, and it's all about comedians and comics. And what I love is that whenever somebody says something funny in the movie, people go, yeah, that's good. And you think that's quite realistic. That is how comedy works. It is, yeah. You can never get a comic to laugh at your joke. Go, yeah, that's good.
Oh, that's good. Yeah, that's funny. Before we leave Lighthouses alone, we've just done a massive rewatch of Only Murders in the Building. Season 3 is... you've seen it. I mean, the background is this stupid fucking musical that's set in a lighthouse where you've got three triplets, babies.
I haven't seen it.
Oh, spoiler alert!
Like he plows ahead like a tank through Poland.
One of these baby triplets. One of these baby triplets is apparently responsible for a homicide, and the whole thing's utterly ludicrous. Except I fucking hate musicals. I hate them. But this one, I would go and watch it because you've got Steve Martin coming and doing his patter song, which of the triplets did it, all like this. And then you've got the other guy, Martin Short, doing, Creatures of the Night, and all this kind of drama stuff. And you got fucking Meryl Streep singing, to the babies, my love is a lighthouse. It's all very touching. And I would pay good money to see that shitty musical that's thrown away in a comedy program.
Wait, are we just describing, we just do season synopses of shows? Because I could do Severance for you. It's about a bunch of people who live in a windowless basement. They get rid of their outside life. And there's a brilliant, I'm sorry, this is like, if I want to read plot summaries of something disguised as reviews, I'll read The Guardian.
There's a brilliant what? You can't just stop the sentence after there's a brilliant. What?
There's a brilliant scene where one of the characters wakes up in a cupboard and realizes that he has a life outside. It's a fantastic metaphor for the way we separate our personalities, both at work and emotionally. Another good show, I feel like I'm on Just a Minute now. Another good show that I really enjoyed was The Leftovers about 7 years ago, which features Carrie...
Repetition. And on that bombshell, let's fucking move on, shall we? We have a pact, do we not? Not to mention... the name at the heart of the unpleasantness that took place in America last week.
Yes.
But there was some political unpleasantness that took place in America last week. And I was struck by the level of self-care on Blue Sky, the social media platform that I now am on most of the time. Because, like everyone else, I've left Twitter. And it was quite interesting because you sort of woke up and got where the election was going. Then you kind of plugged into Blue Sky and everyone was feeling like you, oh, fuck me, this is a calamity. And they were saying, look, do you know what? Sack off work, have a donut, have 2 donuts, and a large scotch. And let's get on with it. Very British response. Then the people who get up late started to join in, and then the people who'd gone to sleep in America woke up, and it was all this kind of hysterical stuff about self-care, about I thought Walsh was all right. He was saying, okay, this is shit, but just take a day off, and then we'll come back and fight another day, all the rest of it. I seemed quite sensible. But then people on Blue Sky started sharing poetry. And that it gets worse. Someone actually posted up a quote from J.R.R. Tolkien's The Fellowship of the whatever, Ring.
Ring. It's always Ring. If you can't remember, it's Ring.
Yeah, okay, well, it was. And this is what it said. It's all done out in nice in sort of script, runic script or whatever. It goes, I wish it need not have happened in my time, said Frodo. So do I, said Gandalf. And so do all who live to see such times. But that is not for them to decide. What we have to decide is what we do with the time that is given us.
Oh.
What the fuck? That's absolute meaningless tosh. I mean, this is the thing about Tolkien. You see all these quotes up everywhere. They don't stand up to a moment's scrutiny. You just give them a little poke and they crumble like some ancient wasp nest. This stupid thing, basically say, "Go, said Gandalf. These are harsh times, but we must decide whether we should like it or lump it." That's essentially what he's saying. Well, fuck that. Anyone can say that.
There was a thing with Downton Abbey, and God rest her, let's call her the character played by Maggie Smith, Lady Downton probably. She was famous in the show for her ready wit and epigrams. And I think the only fucking thing she ever said that was almost funny was, "A weekend? What is a weekend?" Like, I nearly shit myself with laughter. My brains flew out the window. It's like Oscar Wilde is sat there pulling off his own hands and throwing them into a wood chipper going, what's the fucking point?
This was all in the service of self-care.
Yeah.
And they were actually quoting this old git. The last word in self-care is this stupid quote from Tolkien, which doesn't go anywhere. It has no forward thrust at all.
It's like that great line from 1984. Be kind to each other, for tomorrow is a new day.
Yeah.
George Orwell, 1984.
It's the fridge magnet shit, isn't it? I mean, that's basically what it is. It's like, you know, that stay calm and carry on. What
Keep
the fuck?
calm, yeah.
Keep calm, carry on. Carry on doing what? Carrying on panicking? Carrying on having a fucking nervous breakdown? What do you do? I mean, it's mental.
I think what we're doing down here in England, Andrea, is we carry on in the rubble of the Blitz and we get on with rebuilding our lives after Adolf Hitler's pummeled us and left Scotland more or less alone.
That's very English, if you don't mind me saying. Just like,
I don't mind saying at all, you haggis.
Fuck, yeah, it's like fuck. Fuck North Britain, that's it. Fuck that wee region up in the north.
Don't do that. I wrote this thing in The Guardian once about, yes, please, Scotland, take your independence and take us with you. Take the north of England with you. Leave these arseholes in Hastings and elsewhere.
If you don't mind, I'm actually from the southwest, and one thing I fucking hate is being said, "Oh, you're from the south." Oh, no, I'm from the southwest. There's a difference, you eel fucking buttonhead. The worst ever keep calm thing I ever saw was keep calm and drink coffee.
That's ridiculous because
keep calm and snort amphetamine
exactly what I was going to say. Exactly what I was going to say.
That's insane. I mean, what the fuck? And also the other one about what doesn't kill you makes you strong. I mean, I just want to be killed and weak then in that case, because who wants to be strong? And you know what I mean? It's like, what do they mean, these things?
You remember, I'm sure, it was only a week ago, we did a thing about bonfire night. And I stupidly tried to make up a poem on the spot from my head, and I couldn't. And I wanted to do it in the style of those Facebook the ones that are in local papers. Do you remember the olden days? Well, when we had only 3 channels on the telly, all that shit. So this is my public information poem for Guy Fawkes Night. I'm going to do it in a northern accent, probably. Hang on. Who can recall the olden days when folk got by in olden ways? Aye, spangles, sugar mice, sherbet dips, them chimps on the adverts for PG tips. We walk 5 miles to school, in sackcloth knickers, rain and snow. Social media, we had sooty and sweep. Woke just meant you weren't asleep. Bonfire night was in November. No health and safety that I can remember. Oh, sparklers, rockets, Roman candles, baked potatoes, toffee apples, and bangers, little toy sticks of dynamite. We used to tape loads together, throw them in each other's faces. That's how I lost my sight. That's how I lost my sight.
Can we have that with the Hovis music underneath?
Oh my God,
That's so accurate.
oh God, very good, Ian, very good.
I always go on those local groups, and whenever they post a picture of an old street, I always go, it looks much better now.
Yeah.
Because all these people are always better then. Literally, you could post a picture of someone with syphilis and a rotted jaw, and much better in those.
Everything was better in the olden days, though, wasn't it? Everything was better. It's a fridge magnet. Everything was better in the olden days.
Got a poem for us, Quant, you got a poem for us?
Because
for us.
I've got a whole topic, which I've got a lovely smooth.
Hello.
Right. I circulated this to make my mother-in-law think that John Cooper Clarke had written it, and it worked. Because she's a huge fan of John Cooper Clarke, and I took no pleasure in telling her that, in fact, I had made it up, and she'd probably never speak to me. Anyway, this is my John Cooper Clarke poem. I'll try and do the voice. Is it a cloud that covers the sun? Is it some sort of gargantuan bon? Is it Godzilla crossed with a nun? No, it's Gary Barlow's massive son. Because Ian was talking earlier about the be kind nonsense on Blue Sky. And the thing is, what's really healed the internet in this terrible week is that while in America, people were going on and beating themselves up and blaming other people and blaming everyone else and themselves, most people in Britain just decided to talk about how tall Gary Barlow's son is.
Yeah.
And he's only actually 6'2" and he's 24 years old, so he's younger than me, but he's 1 inch taller. It's just
younger than you.
Everyone's younger than
hear that.
The big shock, isn't it? But just because Gary Barlow's a bit dinky, Gary Barlow's son appears to be massive. And Britain reacted in the kind of kind and helpful way that British people do by just posting loads of pictures of Gary Barlow holding huge objects and pretending that they belong to his son, or hands holding tiny objects and pretending it was like Gary Barlow's massive son makes a phone call with a tiny, and it was pictures of Gulliver going, Gary Barlow's son gets tied up and it's just been wonderful. And I don't know what point it makes, except that it's brought out a few people like, you're practicing mental cruelty. It's like, mate, he's 6'2". He is not unusual in any way. It is a joke about the illusion. It's a meta joke, I said to someone before I blocked them. But it's just to me, it's just an example of how humour can help us through difficult times. And as the nuclear bombs fall, we're laughing and we're keeping calm and carrying on.
Yeah, exactly.
When you hold one of those big San Miguel bottles, you feel like a hobbit because they're the same shape as the little ones.
Back to Tolkien.
I fucking hate Tolkien. I didn't mind The Hobbit, but I mean, just leave it there, mate, really. And the films, my God, have you seen the films?
The only good thing about the films is that I was halfway through the second one when I suddenly realised that I'd never actually finished Lord of the Rings. So I started off going, oh yeah, a bit like it. Here comes Gandalf, just like in the prequel, The Hobbit. Oh, off we go. There's a load of people. There's Sean Bean. He won't last. All off on the voyage. I remember all this. Now what the fuck is happening? No memory of this. Oh, what's wrong with Sam? Oh, he's Gollum. He was in the prequel. I like him. Andy Serkis in a motion capture suit. Looks ridiculous.
Yeah.
Andy Serkis probably must go to bed covered in light bulbs to feel comfortable at night.
See, what were the trees? What were the fucking trees? One of my kids was watching it. On and on. You'd leave the room for half an hour, come back, and it was still these hobbit fucks at the top of the trees, walking trees, and nothing's happening for like 2 hours. Someone saying, oh, have we got to Brentwood in Essex yet? No, we're still waiting for the turn off to the A127. On and on it went.
Do you know, I've never seen any of these films. Not seen The Hobbit, not seen Lord of the Flies or Lord of the Ring, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Not seen it.
You're not a fan of fantasy, and do you like any manly things?
Do I like manly things? We back to beards. What do I like? I write deep emotional drama, obviously, where people have feelings and all of that stuff. I don't do fantasy.
Andrea did wrote the screenplay for Mayflies, which I watched and loved. But I'm very good at keeping my emotions under control with these things. I genuinely am. It was really weird. The very last shot of the second part, I just burst into tears. That I won't give away what happens, but it's a kind of nothingy thing that happens, and I don't know how you did it, but it just genuinely made me cry.
It was a fantastic.
So fuck you.
Book. Yeah, fuck me. It was a fantastic book though, because it was Andrew Hagen wrote it. So
yeah, I've got it. I'm just
amazing book, and
Yeah.
so I think if you're adapting a work like that, then it's all done for you. Really, it's easy because it's so beautifully written, and it was based on a true story of his. So it's about his mates. It's about being young in the 80s and going to gigs and things like that, and. The other thing that's really good about it is it's about working class Scottish boys. And what you always see in stuff about Scotland is your boys are always either jakies, they're druggies, they're in gangs or stuff like that. So there's all these Scottish tropes, these sort of stereotypes. And then Andy comes along with Mayflies, and these boys, they love film, they're really into culture, they talk about their bands and things like that, and they've got an absolute intelligence, but they are totally rooted in the working class. So I think that's what I really loved working on that. It was fantastic. I was lucky, privileged.
What I love about the sound of that is that because I was a music journalist in the 80s, and I mean can confirm, because we'd go up to Scotland, the NME would go up, and all these extraordinary people who were just orange juice, simple mind, variety of people.
Yeah.
And so many of them were working class, and yet their songs were about French films, digested or not, art, bizarre stuff, Europe. This fascination with Europe that used to. And what I really got when I went to particularly Glasgow was this idea that Britain, England wasn't important. There was no sense of London. It was like basically people in Scotland liked America. They liked the American soul sound, and they liked Europe. And it was a real kind of headfuck for me, having lived in London and being quite metropolitan, that it's like you could have a whole world that had nothing to do with hamburgers and Elvis and the terrible week we've just had.
Yeah. Yeah. Postcard records were fantastic in that time. And, like we had Edwyn Collins and the Blue Nile, who are, one of my favorite bands of all time. And they were writing songs about important stuff. Do you know what I mean? It was, they're pretty great. Scotland's pretty great, actually.
Scotland is
pretty great.
Yeah. Have you had a senior moment recently, Andrea?
Oh my God. I have to now, see when I do the ironing or anything like that, I have to take a photograph of the iron when I've unplugged it. So that when I go out, that's no word of a lie, right? So
bloody hell.
So I get out the door, because otherwise I'll go, have I unplugged the iron? Have I unplugged the iron? Did I? So I'd go back in then, right? So now I just make myself I stay calm and I carry on by taking a photograph of the iron unplugged. So that when I get out the door, I look at my phone, I go, oh, I've unplugged it, and off I go.
I daren't mention that to my daughter. She will totally start doing that.
But it's inevitable, isn't it? Senior moments. They're going to get more and more and more, to the point where you're not even going to realise you're having a senior moment, because you're having one, and you are one.
I've just realised I've pissed myself about 10 minutes ago.
That's nice.
For me, it's the pill count. I look at them and there's just so many. And I think when I was young, I would have killed for a pill box like this with 5 different pills for every day of the week. I'd be like, thank you, God. I'm now going to go and write an Irving Welsh book. Nowadays, I have to take 5 pills before I can even find my camera to take a picture of the iron.
The other thing I do, which I don't know if it's senior moment or not, but do you know that thing where you're talking to yourself in the street? I do that all the time, right? I like a big old conversation. I particularly like a row with myself, or, dead angry. And then you suddenly realize people are looking at you as if you are, you should be arrested or whatever. So what I do now is I plug in my headphones.
Yeah. And
I make it look like I'm on my phone. And actually, no, I'm just talking to myself, having a big old row.
Hello, is that Scott Care? I'm going to email you an address, and if you can get someone around there pronto, we've got her on the phone.
All right, Ian, quite a long bit there. All my life I have categories of self-conversation. I have, on a good day, the interview about my new book, which is very much a substitution for the fact that no one will publish my book, so I might as well do it. We got a lovely review in the Telegraph, a very nice review in the Telegraph. Don't write in, left-wing scum. We got a lovely review in the Telegraph, but it said at the end that we had nothing to plug, which enraged me because I've got a Kickstarter for a book called The Hyena, kickstarter.com, The Hyena, and Ian is trying to flood the market with his dismal product. Go, Ian.
No, I've got nothing on at the moment.
Got nothing on it. Andrew, have you got anything?
I do. I have got a wee 4-part mini series coming out in the new year, sometime in the new year. We don't have a final date yet, which is basically about Jane Austen and her sister Cassandra.
Cool.
Because Cassandra burnt when Jane died. I know it's a bit of a spoiler, but everybody knows she's dead.
She's dead?
I'm so sorry. Yeah, she's totally dead. Cassandra, to preserve her sister's legacy, burnt all Jane's correspondence. And nobody knows why. Why did she do that? So it's a kind of literary mystery. And the writer whose book I've adapted, Jill Hornby, she has come up with a theory as to why Cassandra burnt all the letters. Keely Hawes is playing Cassandra.
She's great.
She's brilliant.
She sounds like a Cassandra.
Yeah, she's brilliant. And you can see it on the BBC in the new year sometime. We haven't got a date. And then it's going on Masterpiece in America in March.
Go on, Ian, plug your books. You might as well.
I've got this one called So You Think You Can Be Prime Minister? And it's a family-friendly Christmas book full of games, puzzles and quizzes to find out if you really can be Prime Minister. You can't. Spoiler alert.
Who's your favourite Prime Minister?
Of all time?
No, of the day. It's Keir Starmer. Next. No, who's your favourite Prime Minister of all time, Ian?
I don't fucking know. Harold Wilson.
How about you, Andrea?
Do I have a favourite Prime Minister? I'm not sure I do. I don't really like the concept of Prime Ministers.
Yeah.
I think it's like, who needs a Prime Minister? I mean, what do they actually do? I mean, it's like,
Get you.
I know.
With your first minister, it's just prime. It's the same
Prime.
thing. You don't fool us.
Yeah,
It's another prime minister. You just sneaked one in.
We've sneaked one in. We're just kind of kidding on, aren't we? We're a wee kiddie on. We're a kidding on kind of prime minister.
Are you objecting to the whole political panoply? I mean,
I am.
You're just a wee Scotch hothead anarchist.
Yeah, I'm an absolute rebel. I mean, it's just down with that sort of thing. Who needs a prime minister? I mean, seriously, they just get in the way, don't they? They get in the road. They
governing party would probably need one. But I hear what you're saying.
But you don't. Yeah, I know it's ridiculous.
No, I respect it's your truth.
It's
no one's asking me, but Harold Wilson.
Yeah, well, I said Harold Wilson. You've got to say someone else.
I'll go for first term Harold Wilson when he meets the Beatles.
No, you can't. That's the one I've got. You can have the second one where he has to crash out halfway through with cancer and Alzheimer's.
Yeah, that sounds, to be honest, like more my kind of Harold.
I'd like to thank our sponsor. We haven't got a sponsor, but, fingers crossed.
Maybe the Telegraph will sponsor you from now on, though, because they love you so much.
Maybe the Telegraph needs to be something old and shitty.
I'll do it then. Yeah, thank you very much, Andrea, for coming this week. Thank you, Ian, for being here too. You've been listening to The Old Fools, the greatest podcast in the world. Nothing to plug, the Daily Telegraph. Thank you.
Giddy Goat.